Andrea Levy's 2005 historical novel, Small Island, unfolds through the perspectives of four key characters, Queenie, Hortense, Gilbert, and Bernard. The narrative traverses time, spanning from the aftermath of World War I to 1948, with the viewpoints shifting among these characters. The novel revolves around two couples, one white and one black, comprising Queenie and Bernard, and Hortense and Gilbert, who are married to each other. The story commences with Queenie, a white woman, reminiscing about an encounter at an international fair in post-World War I England, where she shocks onlookers by shaking hands with a black African man. It then transitions to 1948, focusing on Hortense, a black Jamaican woman who has just arrived in London to reunite with her husband, Gilbert. Her dismay is palpable when she discovers Gilbert's modest, sparsely furnished one-room abode within a property owned by Queenie. Hortense's past is unveiled, depicting her upbringing under the care of her aunt and uncle, and her close bond with cousin Michael, who enlists in the English Royal Air Force, RAF, and departs Jamaica. While training to be a teacher, Hortense crosses paths with Gilbert, who is on a prolonged visit to his hometown before heading back to London. Their relationship blossoms, leading to their marriage and plans for Hortense to join Gilbert in London. The narrative then delves into Gilbert's experiences, recounting his time serving in the RAF in the US, where he confronts profound racial animosity, intensifying his awareness of racial prejudice in England. Upon his return to England, he finds lodging in the residence owned by Queenie and shared with her father-in-law, Arthur. Bernard, Queenie's husband, who is abroad serving in the RAF, disapproves of her decision to rent out rooms, especially to a black man, reflecting the prevalent racial tensions of the era. Living with Arthur and Queenie, Gilbert faces threats to his safety. During an outing to watch a movie together, Gilbert is denied entry due to racial discrimination, sparking a confrontation that culminates in Arthur being shot. Subsequently, Gilbert returns to Jamaica, where he reunites with Hortense. After receiving financial assistance from Hortense for his journey back to England, knowing her fervent desire to depart her small island for the slightly larger one of England, Gilbert returns to London and Queenie's boarding house. In the present timeline, Hortense struggles to acclimate to her new living arrangements and encounters Queenie, her landlady. Here, Queenie's backstory unfolds. Originating from a Yorkshire pig farming family, Queenie aspired to a more refined lifestyle. Moving to London to reside with her aunt, who operates a confectionery shop, Queenie eventually crosses paths with Bernard. Despite Bernard's controlling nature and deviation from her ideal husband, Queenie marries him following her aunt's passing, determined not to return to her rural roots. The couple's attempts to conceive are futile, and Bernard prohibits Queenie from employment or renting out rooms, despite their financial constraints. The outbreak of World War II prompts Bernard to enlist in the RAF hastily, leaving Queenie in the company of his shell-shocked father, Arthur, a veteran of World War I. Subsequently, Queenie opens their home to soldiers in need of accommodation, including Michael, Hortense's cousin, with whom she shares a fleeting encounter before his departure, inadvertently leaving behind his wallet. Post-war, Bernard remains absent, prompting Queenie to navigate life independently. Gilbert secures a position as a postal driver but faces racial slurs in his day-to-day encounters. During a shopping excursion with Queenie, Hortense is awestruck by the abundance of food options. Their paths cross with Bernard upon his return, leaving Queenie in a state of shock that leads to her collapse. Upon regaining consciousness, she demands an explanation from Bernard regarding his prolonged absence. Sent to Bombay during the war, Bernard forges a strong friendship with Maxie and eagerly anticipates battle. As the conflict concludes in Europe and the process of repatriating British troops begins after the Japanese surrender, Bernard remains in Calcutta to aid in maintaining peace. He witnesses the tragic Great Calcutta Killings of 1946, where Hindus and Muslims engage in brutal violence, resulting in a fire that claims Maxie's life. Bernard is compelled to fabricate the circumstances of the fire to preserve the reputation of higher authorities. Stricken with grief, he returns to England but settles in Brighton instead of London, where he meets Maxie's family. Upon discovering he does not have syphilis from an encounter with an Indian sex worker, as he had feared, Bernard reunites with Queenie, moving back into their home. He urges Queenie to dismiss the lodgers, expressing a desire to relocate to the countryside and establish a rabbit farm. Meanwhile, Hortense seeks teaching employment but is deemed unqualified to instruct English children. Supported by Gilbert, they return to the household, where tensions between Queenie and Bernard are palpable. It becomes evident that Queenie is concealing a pregnancy beneath loose attire. With Hortense's assistance, Queenie gives birth to a healthy baby boy with a dark complexion, sparking Bernard's unwarranted aggression towards Gilbert, whom he assumes to be the father. Queenie intervenes, revealing that Michael, who visited on furlough 9 months prior, is the actual father. Alone, Bernard and Queenie deliberate on the infant's future, acknowledging the challenges he will face as a mixed-race child. They conclude that his prospects are bleaker with 2 white parents, destined to endure societal scrutiny and scorn. Queenie extends an invitation to Gilbert and Hortense, presenting them with a newborn, named Michael, and beseeching them to raise him as their own. In agreement, Gilbert and Hortense accept the responsibility. Queenie departs to seek solace from her spouse, leaving behind a substantial sum of money and a photo of herself sewn into Michael's clothing. The newfound family comprising Hortense, Gilbert, and baby Michael departs from the boarding house, embarking on a new chapter together. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did and be sure to subscribe. Thank you.